What is up you guys? You may have seen me on different times, but if this is your first time seeing me, hello there. I am here to share a little tale of an ancient story from the Greek mythology. Behold, the Journey of Odysseus. This story is pretty long.
That's what she said.
So I took the key parts of the story and narrowed it down to however long this video is. Personally, he is my favorite character of all Greek mythology. Keep in mind, I will not be focusing on whole book but only on the timeline of Odysseus's journey. His story is so complicated, so here it is in a nutshell. So with that out of the way, behold, the Journey of Odysseus. So basically, after the sack of Troy using the Trojan horse created by Odysseus's big brain, the Greek army is ready to sail back home, but they decide to celebrate for their victory. They get drunk and are all like,
I'm so drunk I can barely see.
And then they are like,
I'm gonna kick your ass, I'm good.
to the gods. This pisses off the gods and Zeus is like,
I'll shove a lightning bolt up your ass.
then Poseidon is like,
I guess you just have to be prepared to die.
and it leads the entire Greek army to whole another direction. So yeah, now, Odysseus and his men are lost. The end.
Psych!
Odysseus and his men end up on an unknown island with lotus eaters. We don't care about them. Basically they go and explore and one of Odysseus' men is like, hey yo, I just found this weird plant, I think I'm gonna eat it. So he takes a bite and is like, tasty. So more of his men take it and they are like,
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for.
but then Odysseus is like,
It's time
to
go!
but his men are like,
I'm sorry, sir. You're no longer required to follow your orders.
and they don't want to go home. So now Odysseus and the smart people grab the dumb soldiers and carry them back to the home and lock them in a cage like the good boys that they are. Then they sail away to another island. Some time has passed and Odysseus is like, hey yo, I think I smell some cheese. So they go and follow the cheese and stop on an unknown island. The boys go explore and they find the cheese in a cave, so Odysseus is like, yo, let's go eat this cheese, so they eat it. After they eat it, the men are like, hey yo, I think we should dip before we get clapped by whoever is living here. Odysseus is like, I want to see if they will give us a gift. So then the big homie Cyclops arrives and sees the men and the cheese gone and is like,
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Odysseus is like, we are homies and we wanna go home, can you help us? The Cyclops was so kind that he gave them extra food and supplies for them to go home.
Psych!
He puts a huge boulder blocking the entrance and then is like, okay, I'm gonna eat you now. So he takes two homies and eats them. The next morning the Cyclops is like, okay BRBMR, head out. Odysseus and the boys come up with a plan. When the Cyclops returns, Odysseus is like, hey you have this wine, it won't get you drunk. And the Cyclops is like, okay sure. And has a sip and gets drunk. The Cyclops is like,
Is just a one-eyed bloody monster?
and then he is like,
What is your name?
Odysseus is like, my name is nobody, and the Cyclops is like, oh okay then. The Cyclops eats a couple more of the boys, then Odysseus takes a sharp stick and pokes the Cyclops out. The Cyclops is like, and so his homie remove the boulder and are like,
Are you okay?
and the Cyclops is like, nobody attacked me. So his homies are like,
Okay.
and they just leave. So then Odysseus and the remaining boys tie themselves underneath the giant sheep and walk out of the cave and exit. They get back to their ship and Odysseus is like, hey yo, my name is Odysseus, the one who picked your eye out lol. So then the Cyclops is like, yo daddy, Odysseus popped my eye out, don't make him go home. And then Poseidon is like,
I got you, fam!
so as they sail away, Odysseus is like, yo, I think I smell a wind. So they go follow the wind and encounter another island with Aeolus, the keeper of the winds. Aeolus welcomes them and gives Odysseus a bag and tells them if they do not to open it and he'll send a wind for them to go home. Odysseus is like, I'm okay then, and takes the bag and goes back to the ship and sail away. So during Odysseus' sleep, one of his men takes the bag thinking it is treasure and opens it. This causes the ship to blow off course. What was in the bag, you ask? A treasure of a 20-piece chicken nuggets from McDonald's. Anyways, because they were blown off course, the boys had to row their way. Odysseus is like, hey yo, I think I smell an island we can rest on. So they start heading that way and meet some giant people called the Lesbonetrians, Lasnegocians, Lost Trojans, Litrosagenians, Chicken Nuggets, Lees, Try, Go, Nuns. Anyways, the big boys eat some of Odysseus' men and the remaining escape. The men arrive on an island with the witch Circe. Circe turns some of his men into pigs. Odysseus is like,
"What do I do, Lord?"
Then Herpes tells him go find this weird plant, it will cure the boys. So he doesn't cures the boys. Then Odysseus tells Circe, hey you stop hurting me and my boys. And then Circe is like, okay fine, but you've gotta stay here for a year. So then Odysseus and his men stay there for a year. One of Odysseus's men gets drunk and jumps off of Circe's roof. He dies. Circe then is like, okay you gotta go to the underworld to speak to some guy named Tiresias lol. Odysseus is then teleported to the underworld and he encounters Elpina. You know, the dumbo that fell off the cliff and died. He tells Odysseus that he would like a proper burial and Odysseus is like, okay sure. Then he starts seeing familiar faces. Ajax, Hercules, Agamemnon, even Achilles. He finally encounters Tiresias. He tells Odysseus, listen bruv, you will go home, but it will take lots of challenges. Also don't you dare eat any of the cattle on the island of the sun god. If you do, you will meet your Odysseus is then like, oh okay. Then he gets teleported back Circe's island. He gives Elpina his proper burial and then Circe says, listen babe, you gotta be aware of the sirens, okay lol. Odysseus and his crew sail away. As they sail, Odysseus is like, hey yo, I think I hear the sirens. Hurry men, put these wax on your ears so you can't hear the sirens. And so the men put on the wax so they can't hear the sirens. But then Odysseus grows curious and wants to hear the song of the sirens. Odysseus comes up with a plan. He has his men tie him to the boat. As they pass by, the sirens are like, and they manage to get through. But more danger lies ahead. Odysseus and the boys now face another challenge, the being Scylla and Charybdis. Scylla is a big woman with 6 weird heads who likes to eat 6 men, and Charybdis is the first Sarlacc pit who likes to eat entire ships. Both creatures sit right across from each other. Odysseus calls Circe and is like,
what the hell is this thing?
Circe is like, okay listen babe, just go pass by Scylla. It is better to lose 6 men than to lose your whole ship. Odysseus then is like,
how do I kill it?
Circe is like, you can't. Just go past it, you'll be fine lol. So as they sail through Scylla, she takes 6 of Odysseus's men. The rest manage to get through and land on the island of the sun goat. There the sun god welcomes the boys. Helios is like,
listen, well, for I am the sun that lights this world, and that light shall be known as justice.
Odysseus then tells his men not to eat any of the cattle. But their food supply is down to 0 and the men are hungry. So during Odysseus' sleep the men kill one of the cattle and cook some carne asada. This pisses off the sun god Helios. He goes towards Zeus and is like,
Mortals have foolishly defied a god. Please, punishment towards mortals for defiling the universe.
Then Zeus is like,
I got you, fam!
Odysseus and his men then sail away, but Zeus then is like,
Face my divine wrath!
He strikes lightning onto the ship, destroying it, killing everyone aboard. Except for one. Odysseus, hanging on by a wooden plank, survives. He lands on the island of Calypso. He walks up the shore and meets Calypso, a beautiful goddess. She takes one look at Odysseus and is like, Odysseus is like,
here we go again.
Calypso takes Odysseus as her husband. Calypso is incredibly happy while Odysseus, well, not so much. But how? Literally a goddess falls in love with an ugly mortal, is hot, who sleeps with him literally every night, treats him like a king, and Odysseus is sad. Why? Odysseus is like,
I miss my wife.
And cries along the shore every day. 7 years pass. Athena, goddess of wisdom and war, realizes that Odysseus has been punished enough. She tells Zeus, hey yo, I think it's time you let him go. Zeus is like, no. Please? Okay. So then Zeus tells Herpes, listen my son. Go tell that woman that it's time to let my boy Odi go. Herpes is like, okay sure. Poseidon gets mad at this decision. Hercules then travels Calypso Island and is like, yo baby girl, it's time, let him go please. No, please, no, please, no, please. Okay. Calypso then talks to Odysseus and is like, hey babe, I think you have to go. But just one question. Are you sure you don't want to stay? I'm a goddess and I can give you immortality. I'm also super hot and sexy, you can live like a god. Odysseus is like, listen bruv, I'm not happy here. I am a human, and I want to see my wife and my child that I have not even seen in like 19 years. So no, thank you, I'ma go now. Calypso then sends a raft for Odysseus with food and supplies. She gives him her word that she will not stop him. Odysseus sails off. But then Poseidon is like,
I've got you in my sights,
and destroys his raft. Then Odysseus lands on another island. Odysseus then encounters Nausicaa, princess of the Phaeacia, the ones who worship Poseidon. Odysseus asks for help and Nausicaa is like,
I got you, fam!
And brings him into the palace where her father, King Alcinous, sits on his throne. Alcinous is impressed with Odysseus with how much respect he showed towards Nausicaa. He's like, boy, you should marry my daughter.
Not again.
But what are you doing here? Odysseus, without revealing himself, is like, I'm stranded and I wanna go home, can you help me? The king agrees to help Odysseus and promises him that they will build a boat for him. In the meantime, Alcinous invites him for dinner. They give Odysseus some chicken nuggets. As they eat, a man starts playing the lyre and sings about the Trojan War and the great Odysseus. Odysseus starts crying, and the king is like, hey yo, what about a competition to cheer you up? Odysseus says, okay fine. What is the competition? Have you ever playing Dragon Ball FighterZ Legendary Edition? No, but I bet I could clap your best man's cheeks.
Planet Namek! Time to begin the match!
Ready for this?
What? Are you ready? Let's go! Adequate! Keep at it! Keep at it!
This dude did a 10-hit combo! This dude's going straight!
Bruh.
Odysseus claps cheeks in the competition and Alcinous promises him gifts. They go back and continue dinner. The man starts singing again and Odysseus starts crying again and Alcinous is like,
Show yourself. Let me see who you are.
Odysseus reveals himself. Then Alcinous asks him, can you tell us about your story? Odysseus then tells them literally everything that has happened in this video. So after some time Alcinous is like, okay, here is your boat. Go home now. Odysseus sails off, but then Poseidon is like,
be gone!
He turns the ship into a rock. Then Odysseus lands on another island. Odysseus falls asleep and then wakes up on Ithaca, but Athena covers it in mist so he can't recognize his land. Athena then disguises Odysseus as an old beggar. She clears the mist and Odysseus goes to find Eumaeus, his swineherd. Odysseus then tests his loyalty and Eumaeus passes it with an A+. Eumaeus is like, listen bruv, let's wait for the prince to come back, and Odysseus is like, okay sure. Telemachus, the prince and the son of Odysseus, arrives. Athena is like, hey yo, I got a surprise for you, go to Eumaeus' house. Telemachus is like, okay sure. He goes to Eumaeus' house and finds a younger version of Odysseus. He's like, whoa, are you a god or something? Odysseus is like,
No, I am your father.
It can't be!
and then goes back to his normal form.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then basically they go back to the palace, kill the suitors. Odysseus reunites with his wife Penelope and live happily ever after. This is basically the whole story in chronological order. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's been yo boy, take care and peace.